Here we are. Spawning in the bottom left. In the blue, he is representing Team Clash, the Italian Stallion. Current world champion. He is REYNOR. And his opponent in the upper right, in the blue, the little corporal from Team Liquid. He is CLEM. And of course, as the nice little pop-up did tell you, make sure to like, or make sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel here. We're pretty much uploading stuff as close to daily as we can. And hopefully we're producing a lot of good content. I happen to think the content's pretty good, but again, I guess beauty is in the eye of the beholder. And who is brave enough to tell a beholder that their taste in beauty is inaccurate? Certainly not I. I don't want to be turned into stone or disintegrated or, you know, the 7 other ice stock abilities that a beholder can do. But anyway, StarCraft 2 is not D&D. Now, actually, this is pretty cool. Take a look at this as not a lot's happening at the moment. These are glowfish. No, are they glowfish or are they just getting highlighted when they get into the lighter areas? No, I think they're glowfish. Okay, that's pretty cool. Anyway, will be a Reaper expand here from CLEM. No surprise to anyone. We're not going to see some sort of fancy marine opener into a 2-rax. That's really not CLEM's style. As aggressive as he likes to be, you don't really see 2-raxes, or you don't see, 2-on-1s coming from the Frenchman all that often. It's not impossible, but certainly not all that common, and really would not expect to see it in a matchup such as this. CLEM and REYNOR have a long history at this point, at least from the last year. Have a solid history of playing these games and playing these long, epic macro games because both players respect each other enough that it's really not worth it to try to go for a proxy 2-rax, a 19 drone Roach all-in, a Roach Ravager all-in, something like that. Because honestly, I don't know, I think both players are more likely to hold it than not. Now, it might be useful in the grand scheme of a best of 5 to make an opponent play a little less greedy, but I don't think that, I think it's unlikely that a player like REYNOR, or CLEM for that matter, will lose those styles. They're so good at scouting, they're so good at control, it does not really happen. Look at this, one Zergling will go down immediately, and that should be all that the Reaper gets here, and it doesn't take a lot of damage. So it actually has the opportunity to get this creep tuner, or this creep tumor as well, and CLEM is gonna dive? No, he will not. The second queen showing on up here with the Zerglings zoning everything away. And CLEM had a shot at it. It was down to 1 Reaper grenade. But at the end of the day, not quite enough. And well, that doesn't mean the Reaper will get shoot away here. Oh, but okay, he will not be able to cancel or delay that 3rd base. So beyond this, we have Hellions on the way, of course, a Starport on the way. 1-1-1 opener coming on in from CLEM. He's only on 1 gas, so this is not going to be anything too tech heavy. We're not going to see an armory, I don't think. Nothing like that. Just CLEM getting ready to move on into the mid game. And yeah, there we go with the tech lab. We might see some Banshees considering where that tech lab is placed, but that's going to be kind of the extent of any sort of insane early game moves from CLEM in this game. He keeps trying to find these creep tumors, and unfortunately for him, is unsuccessful. REYNOR doing a fantastic job of zoning this Reaper out, making sure that that creep stays alive, and that is so important on a map like this. You want to get, well, on any map, you need to get that creep spread out really far, really fast. Because if we look at 2,000 atmospheres, right? So REYNOR takes the linear 3rd, which is normally what you want to do against Terran. It makes you a little bit less vulnerable to drop sides. Harder for the Terran to do the high ground, low ground, high ground shenanigans that they tend to love so much. But oh, this is rather cool. Look at this. I said, oh, we might see some Banshees, and let's keep an eye on the production tab. But we have a Raven on the way from CLEM, and this is pretty cool, especially considering that I do expect him to go with some sort of push on the 3rd base. CLEM, this is not a 3 command, or actually, as I say that, this is a 3 command center build. Never mind. But anyway, CLEM, of course, the Terran. The onus is on the Terran on any TVZ matchup to put some aggression on, to really make their presence known on the map. So CLEM is getting onto the barracks here, but the cool thing about this Raven is with the Reaper Hellion pressure, or the Reaper Hellion pressure that CLEM does have. Well, they're going to 1-tap creep tumors, and when you have a Raven, though, you're not spending energy on scans. And yes, that does mean your medevacs are a little bit slower, sure, but you have what mule's worth 225 total money, total minerals, I believe, is what they mine. So you're getting n times 225 versus compared to the number of scans that you would normally do. Oh, Clemmy's gonna find one anyway. He's knocking down the rocks. That's always pretty cool. But now the Raven is here, and honestly, if Clem is really on top of things, he may be able to assassinate the Queen. But I love this. This is something that pretty much only Reynor does, and actually was very vocal about it when he went on Lambo's stream immediately after winning Katowice. Is he gonna get a Queen here? No, he should not. Okay. Oh, well, actually, no, he will get one. Very nice here. Auto Doors do so much damage in the early game. But anyway, Clem is, Lambo and Reynor both were fairly vocal about this after Clem won after Reynor won Katowice, and he went on. He's like, "Oh yeah, how did you beat Mario here?" Well, oh no, Reynor misplaced that anyways. The whole point there was, well, Reynor goes up to something like 9 queens. Yeah, there we go, 9 queens. And he actually has 2 control groups of creep queens in the early game. So what he does there, he says, okay, well, I know the best Terrans, the most aggressive Terrans, are going to really be actively trying to deny creep. So what do? I put 4 queens on one side and maybe 3 queens on another, and one of the 4 queens on the one side is also going to be an inject queen. So he's going up to 10 queens. That is a lot of queens here, and now with the auto turret going down, that's a queen. That is another dead queen. Actually, Clem is getting so many queens with just these Hellions. This is actually unheard of. This is not something you see now. Something that happened in my games back in Heart of the Swarm when I was in Silver. But at the highest level, you do not see queens dying to Hellion pressure all that much. Now, of course, the Raven is a powerful thing, and I believe it's fairly low. Yeah, it's fairly low, so Clem did have to bring that back to get it repaired. But I mean, still, he's seeing so much value here. I believe it's 3 queens. Yeah, 3 queens, 14 Zerglings, a couple drones. Decent amount of creep tumors as well. So Clem doing a fantastic job of keeping this creep spread back. Now, it's unfortunate that he did have to spend a scan for it, as well. I mean, that's kind of the point of the Raven, right? You're getting away with not spending a lot of scans because we're getting the Raven. That being said, well, Clem is already getting so much done with this. Is he going to try to drop? And he's just putting so much effort, really. I keep harping on this, but he's putting so much effort into denying this creep. This is not something you see Terrans do that often. Yes, scan, remove creep as you're pushing, sure. But, I mean, this was a Raven committal. This was a lot of Hellions. This is a drop that was pretty much just there to remove creep. And now the Raven's going to go on back. I believe the Raven's coming back in, so... Oh, no, these are the medevacs. So there we go. We got a... I hesitate to call it a Hellbat timing because it's 7 minutes and 30 seconds. But these Hellions have been alive this entire game, and that does mean that they're going to be Hellbats. They're going to be able to tank here, as Clem does need a split here. And he won't be totally fine because there are not a lot of Banelings. Meanwhile, this drop on the left-hand side looks like it will get cleaned on up, but not before doing some damage. And Clem is just suddenly up 30 army supply, or 30 supply, just like that. 30 army supply, too. As he's going to stim on forward here, and well, most of the Banelings will be able to force him back. One of my shots is going to go off, but Queen's have enough HP for that. So now Clem, he was at 140 to 100, but supplies are stabilizing just a little bit here. But Reynor absolutely under some significant threat. 2-2 not quite on the way yet for either player. Clem getting that +2 attack. Reynor with +2 armor, as both players are spending everything they can on making their offense happen, making their defense happen. But what I love here from Clem over this continued push on the right-hand side is he has removed all creep from that area. And this was, by the way, the strongest creep position that Reynor did have on the map. That was fully split. That was fully pushed onto the Zelnaga Tower. And oh, look at all of these Banelings morphing. Clem is going to get most of them. He's going to take them all down, and that is just so much less defense at this point. Yeah, 6 workers have gone down, and that's a big deal. Don't get me wrong. I mean, it is. But I think the bigger deal is the fact that as this push that comes down, he's going to target down every Baneling. And now there's not a whole lot here. Yeah, there's some queens, but most of these queens have died. Reynor was up at 7 at one point, or was at 10. Now he's at 7, and this is with a lot of queens being reproduced. Reynor has lost 8 queens over the course of this game. Generally, you kind of don't see it a Berserk lose any at all. So I really love this committed pressure from Clem. He's doing such a good job of maintaining his supply lead, too. He's up 40, 50 supply at this point. Well, actually, he's going to go down at this point, but Clem's doing such a good job of targeting down Banelings. Now, if we look at this, yeah, 8 Banelings have been targeted down this game, so I like this flank. There we go. Will force to lift up. Eventually, lift up! Oh, God! 12 kills, 12 Banelings on that Widowmine. Meanwhile, of course, Clem on the left-hand side getting a lot of damage done here, and the Widowmine will not go on off. But Clem is going double-pronged on this game so much faster than a lot of Terrans will do, right? Normally, say, okay, we're on 4 bases. I guess Clem's technically is on 4 bases now. But, okay, we're on 4 bases. We're 4 or 5 bases. We're getting into 3-3. We're at well, 180 supply. We can go on in and we can attack 2 places at once. It's going to be difficult to break the Zerg on one front, but Clem was doing this for like 7 minutes on. It is absolutely showing. The Zerglings are going to melt now with the anti-armor missile. Did the Raven go down though? Yeah, the Raven did go down. Okay, bit unfortunate there for Clem, but he's gotten so much value. I don't think he really cares all that much. Bailey's now going to go spilling on forward, but fantastic resplit from Clem. That one Marauder in the front is going to stay alive anyways. And now, well, money supply. The Widow Mines. Yeah, most of the Bailey's will go on down. And now, well, it looks like Reynor has barely enough to force this back with the extra Bailey's. Actually, no, I don't think so. As Clem's going to go on in here. Bailey's will all connect, but there are only 3 left. 2-1. Clem with the target fire here once again. And the Zerglings will be able to force it back because, well, there's some upgrade parity, right? Well, as I say that, that's actually not true. The reinforcements coming on in. Clem had more bio under those medevacs than I thought he did. Each one has a personal healer. Now Clem gonna come stimming on in once again. The third base now. It looks like this time Clem may have fully broken it at this point. Reynor, he has some Baileys, but no, the splits there of Clem are gonna be too damn good. And Swarm Hosts, that's gotta be a mistake there from Reynor. I can't imagine this being a world where Reynor really thinks the Swarm Host is gonna be worthwhile. And there we have it, GG. Here we are, spawning in the upper right. In the blue, he is Reynor. And his opponent in the bottom left in the red, representing Team Liquid. The one, the only, Clem. In game 1, we saw that Raven be so damn effective. It allowed Clem to knock down 3 queens early, and of course, queens, you might say, hey, they're not Zerglings, they're not Banelings, they're not drones, why do I care? Well, queens are such a fantastic defensive tool early in the game, and they also allow for creep spread, all these important things. So by Clem killing those off, that meant there was less defensive options later on. And, well, less defensive options later on. And on top of that, well, the creep spread was not pushed nearly as far, and actually the Raven did a good job of preventing that from happening as well, as so many creep tumors went down from that Hellion Raven force. So we're going to have to see whether that is something that Clem opts for again, or whether he goes for something a little bit more standard. Again, I do like the Raven play. I don't know if it's every game thing. It is certainly rare enough that makes me question it, as at a certain point, you got to say, well, as people that are not pros, we got to say, yeah, I think this is probably the way to play the game, but the pros very clearly disagree. So, is this a reason? Is this a result of the pros being wrong, or is it just the pros have a much better understanding of the game than I will ever have? And it's most likely the latter. So, I'm not totally well. It does delay medevacs. It does delay a lot of tech. The Ravens are expensive, so that's the reason why. But anyway. We're gonna have to see what happens. As yeah, also the other downside of Ravens is if you go Raven is you don't have nearly as much defensive capabilities as you would having a Banshee against something like a 34 drone roach Ravager attack. So that is something that Clem has to have in the back of his mind if he does decide to go for this tech once again. As yeah, auto turrets are good, but they don't have a lot of HP. You don't have a lot of them. It's not constant DPS. Much like, you know, an Oracle trying to hold a Zergling all in. Yeah, sure, they'll do well for a while, but one Oracle won't do enough. Oh, Clem just get a... Yeah, Clem gets a Zergling. Or okay, Clem gets a drone and almost gets a second. Really nice job there from the little Corporal. And that's a bit surprising, actually. I did not expect him to get that, so I wasn't even really looking at it. But, no. Clem doing a great job there. We'll get a drone in. Killing a drone before 3 minutes... Well, this early in the game is a better way to say that. I mean, it's not like 3 minutes is this timing where it's worth it. It's massive if you kill off a drone before 3 minutes, and it doesn't matter at all if it's after 3 minutes. But killing a drone that early is always going to be rather nice. It will snowball a little bit here. Now the Zerglings will find the catch, but not really. It's only 4 Zerglings, not 6, so the wall will be safe. Now Clem's gonna look to die. Oh, is he gonna get? Oh, he's gonna get it. Oh man, the grenade didn't quite go off in time. A nice move there from Clem. Good idea. Unfortunately, didn't really work out. As Narrator will show a 2-base lair here on this game. I'm not exactly sure what he's going for here. Probably just a fake, because there's only 1 gas. Yeah, there we go, just a fake. I was gonna say, Yeah, REYNOR trying to pull a little bit of tricky stuff here. Maybe trying to convince CLEM that this was, in fact, a roach attack. But there we go. Third base is on the way. And this is a late third base, by the way. You would expect to see, normally, a Zerg player would take their third base at 28, 30 supply, 32 supply, somewhere in that range. REYNOR taking his third base at around 54, 56 supply. So that is late. And we will see a lair on the way, but it's in the natural. I'm kind of wondering whether this was kind of meant to be a double fake, right? Where CLEM sees the lair started so obviously in front of his Reaper that he's going to say, oh yeah, very clearly this cannot be an actual lair. This is just REYNOR, you know, trying to mess with me. But REYNOR is actually going for it, right? We do have the Roach Warren on the way, lair halfway done. So REYNOR is actually going for, I don't know whether this is going to be a Nidus, whether this is going to be a speed Roach timing. Okay, looks like it's going to be 1-1 Roach. And actually, you know what? There's a style that Dark's been playing rather recently where he goes 1-1 Roach, gets his third base something a little bit faster though, and he goes rather quickly into Lurkers. It's pretty cool, and considering REYNOR's love for the Lurker style, even as he, you know, in interviews says he doesn't like it, I wonder how much of that we're going to see. Because, well, it's a pretty good style. It seems really strong to me because you do get on into those +2, +3 Roach upgrade or ranged upgrades really quickly. And +2, +3 Lurkers are really scary. I mean, look, it's scary enough when it's Lingbane Hydra Lurker and the Lurkers don't have any attack upgrades. So, when we're looking at the situation where, well, the Lurkers have those attack upgrades in line with what the Terran has, well, it's just a little bit scarier. And you do have that beat of the Roach Force in front of you that does allow you to make stuff happen. So, CLEM's going to open up the aggression just a little bit here with a 16 Marines with Stim done now. There we go, now done. So CLEM's going to be able to hit a Stim on there, maybe kill something off, but no, REYNOR, he's on top of things, and this is not the 2-1-1 timing, right? It's not 430, where this is a lot scarier. So it is a double medevac timing, but CLEM will take 3/4 damage on one medevac and be forced back for the time being. Now, once again, though, placing a big focus on creep denial this game, that's important. Oh, there we go. Ooh, that's a little bit dicey there. Going back with the heavily injured medevac to pick up that one Marine, but CLEM saying, no man left behind. So that is that. As we have Roaches now on the way, I don't think CLEM is really, I mean, CLEM doesn't really know about that at this point. Yes, he's going to go for tanks because that's pretty much the default opener for Terrans at this point, especially if they're going to try to go for a rather early push. And then you go into Widow Mines maybe if you do know it is just Lingbane. So we're going to have to see what exactly, how soon CLEM is going to be able to scout the fact that this is a 1-1 timing. Because something that the Terran player has to be very careful about when we look at these +1 Roach, these 1-1 Roach timings, is this, especially on a map like Oxide, is this fact where they go on to make their first push. And they have 150 supply, sure. We'll give them 140, 150 total supply. And the Zerg player's maxed out. Zerg player has 1-1 with all of these Roaches. And suddenly, because the map is small enough, okay, yeah, CLEM, nice catch there on all those Zerglings. But anyway, the map is small enough here. CLEM, you got to raise that, right? Okay, no Zergling's going to find its way on in. Anyway, the map is small enough that the counterattack just immediately kills the Terran. Now, I don't know whether CLEM is going to fall victim to that trap, but right now there's a really fantastic timing here for REYNOR. As he has 1-1, his opponent does not for another 20 seconds. He's going to have the +1 advantage. He's going to have a 2 upgrade advantage for another 5. Now, the one thing I will say here is, man, REYNOR is really late on speed Roaches. So Zerglings will find their way on in here, and I'm actually kind of surprised CLEM's not paying a little bit more attention to that, considering he knew the Zerglings were there, but he says, okay, well, your Zerglings are there. They're not at your home, so now it's time for me to get my push on. And REYNOR still has not shown these Roaches, by the way. Now he will see them. CLEM is going to say, oh, crap, there's a lot of 1-1 Roaches, and I have Roaches attacking on into my base. So the factory will get canceled here. We're going to have to see whether the command center gets canceled, but this is a lot of dead SCVs at the third base. Yeah, REYNOR's absolutely going to ravage that, but CLEM is just going to take his fight on the other side. Standing on top of things, one tank on the high ground is raining hellfire from above, but there are just too many damn queens, and the 1-1 Roach Force is just going to shove CLEM back in the extreme. REYNOR, he's milking about 100 supply. He's not 100 supply, but he's almost doubling the supply of his opponent at this point. As these Roaches are actually should be able to cancel this fourth base as well. Actually, no, it looks like, no, Clem will be able to stay on top of this before the rest of the army does come on in. And this is a fantastic trade for the Frenchman. He will be able to stay alive for the time being, as, yeah, the roaches are now going to get those rocks down. But those rocks are going to be down so slow. And if we look at this, well, A, there is no roach speed, so it's hard for the roaches to get on top of the tanks here. Tank is pre-firing. The bios are not even going to hit it now with 2 tanks here firing from above and enough bio here to serve as a buffer. It's not looking all that great for this push from Raynor. The supply gap that was about 70 a second ago, it is not anywhere near as much anymore. Clem, he is holding with aplomb, with pizzazz. And yes, eventually will these queens and these roaches take those tanks down? Sure. But I think at this point, it does not even matter. The queens, they're off creep. They're going to get targeted down. They're out of energy too. And it's looking like Clem has a hold here. And of course, he's done a fantastic job of reproducing workers as well behind this. He has 4 bases. He has tanks. He has only 1 tank production. He did not get onto that second factory as of yet. He's getting there, but he's not there yet. And the Liberators are now going to siege up the mineral line too. That's going to make it a little bit more difficult for the roaches, for the Zerglings to make something happen there. And actually, yeah, the roaches will not even, or the Ravagers will not even get the Liberators. Nice job there from Clem, actually having the presence of mind to go and unsiege, resiege, make sure the Liberators stay alive. And now with the tank on the low ground, 2 tanks on the low ground, actually, we're going to have the roaches. They're going to come steaming on in. 2-2 on the way, of course, for both players, but it's not really going to be relevant for any near time here. And now with the Liberators sieging on up, Raynor, he's got to back up here. He doesn't have enough Ravagers, does not have enough Queens. There is minimal anti-air at this point. Now we have 3 Ravagers, and that does mean every time battles are on cooldown, a Liberator will die, and Clem will be forced to pick up his base for the time being. But he has 4 bases. He has 4 orbitals, I believe. And the later this goes, of course, the better it is for the Frenchman. As once he gets into 2-2, once he gets into 3-3, gets lots of Marauders, roaches just don't trade all that well. And yeah, this is 4 orbital too. This is a pretty cool adjustment because, well, Clem understands that he is down economically right now. He's down. That's right. I don't have that. They didn't make this game with Game Art. He is down about 1,400 minerals a minute, 300 gas a minute. So that's not great for him. But he understands that he will have quad mules coming up rather soon, and that those 3 arrows we saw up, now it's going to be 1 as the mules are now landing. And look at that, Clem. He's equal on minerals. Because, you know, quad mules, they're a powerful thing, especially when they're banked up like that, because 2 bases have been lifted. So now Clem, he's sitting here pretty comfortable on 4 bases. He will have to retake some of that gas because he will need to get onto his upgrades, build a lot more Marauders, build more tanks, do all those things that actually fight roaches. But look at this. Raynor, not content with the status quo here, realizes that, okay, I didn't kill my opponent. I wish I had, but I didn't. As these vials will... There we go, get the Liberator. Raynor wishes he had killed his opponent, but he didn't. So what does he do? He says, okay, Hydra Den. We're going to see a Lurker Warren. We're going to see Hive on the way. Raynor moving on into that next level of tech. Vipers, Lurkers, 3-3. All these things that actually allow Raynor to have a fairly scary late game armor or army, because this is what we were talking about. Right? +3 Lurkers, and +2 Lurkers even, are so terrifying. Lurkers scale so well with damage because, of course, they do splash damage. So the amount of damage that they apply, it's much like having high attack speed units. Now Clem going to stim on in here, splitting around, of course, all the bile. And this is a lot of roaches that are going to go on down. As I believe concussive shells, yes, they are. Concussive shells are done. So lots of Ravagers, lots of roaches will go on down. Fantastic trade for the Frenchman. And now, you know, yes, he's down 30 army supply, but he's not down 50, 60 that he was previously. So it's looking a lot better here as he does have 2-2. Yes, his opponent does as well. And actually, Raynor will have a fairly significant 3-3 versus 2-2 timing. So, yeah, Roaches, Ravagers, they're not all that great once the Terran gets close to maxing out, but it's not terrible at this point, and especially once he has those upgrade leads, he's going to be rather happy. But now with the tank siege job on up from behind, the Vipers are going to get some fantastic blinding clouds. Only 1 tank can fire here, and Raynor will be able to force Clem back for the time being, but the blinding clouds, they have burnt out. They are not here anymore in the tanks, free firing away at this army. The reinforcements here from Clem coming on in as well. Oh, this tank on the higher ground, though. Clem is going to stim on in. All these Ravagers are going to go down, or at the very least, most of them. But again, we have Hydras on the way at this point. We have 3-3 on the way. We have Lurker range. All of these things are going to make Raynor's army so damn terrifying in the coming minutes if he can weather this 2-2 storm here from Clem, where Clem finally has a roughly equal army supply, and I love those parasitic bombs. Actually, Clem getting a really good split on that. will not lose any. Maybe he loses those 2 medevacs. I'm not sure how much damage they had before the parasitic bombs did go off, but still. Very nice. Actually, no, yeah, the medevacs won't go down. In fact, Clem is sending them home to be repaired here. But the key thing to pay attention to at this point is the Vipers. They don't have any energy. Right, they're back. Yes, they still exist. They're back, regaining energy, and that does mean that Clem, for the moment, he can take a little bit more advantageous of a fight. But now the Lurkers, they're going to burrow on forward, but it looks like Clem has enough to take this base up. But of course, Reynor, he's still on 4 bases. He still has a terrifying army. And this composition that he has gone for, even if he's trading a little bit less efficiently, it's not the it's not 5K. He's still doing fine. But now that we are into full-on lurk tech, that is such a massive parasitic bomb. That is actually really good. This army that he has can trade so cost-effectively. It's one of the few armies that is Zerg to play against the Terran and actually have the resources lost lead until, of course, the Terran goes into Ghost Tank Liberator. Maybe some doors if they doors. But look at this. Clem's going to stem on into the right-hand side, take down a whole hell of a lot of these lurkers. But you got to remember, this is 3-3. So, well, Reynor's going to be able to get on top of these tanks. The bio's going down as well because it's Roach Hydra Viper. Well, Roach Hydra Viper Lurker with an upgrade lead. And we talked about how well upgrades scale on Hydras and on Lurkers. That being said, though, Reynor has been able to preserve his supply lead for the time being, actually reopening up the, well, I shouldn't say as that's happening. Clem, for a little bit of time, he did equalize army supply. He did equalize, maybe not worker supply, but the Terran's always going to be below that. He was at roughly equal army supply for the first time in the game, and then, well, he took that fight. And Reynor just had enough. He had enough Lurkers, he had enough Roaches, he had enough Hydras to force Clem back. And now, well, we're truly on into the late game here. Clem with his 5th base on the way. We see Reynor expanding in 2 places at once, and once these 2 bases from Reynor go up, realistically, he's going to have every base that he can be expected to mine from over the course of this game. Now, what I also like here for Clem is he's taken the bottom right. Now, something you see in these late game split map scenarios, TVZ sometimes, is you'll see the Zerg player go, and they will take that corner base, the triangular base from the Terran. Look at those blinding clouds. This could be very nice. Yeah, it's a scan, but I mean the tanks can't hit it. So really good trades there from Reynor. As now he's really opening that gap once again. But of course we do have ghosts, and that does mean some of these Vipers will go on down here. That being said, I do like that Clem took that bottom right base. It does mean that it's going to be difficult for Reynor to take a base from his opponent at this point. Now we have a big concave going on in. The Vipers are going to just abduct one tank, but actually that tank's not even going down, not even getting targeted down. So all the Lurkers here from Reynor will go down, but it's at the cost of an orbital. So only 3 orbitals left for Clem at the moment. Now the tank's going to go on down because yes, the Lurkers died, but so did most of Clem's army. And if we look at supplies here now Reynor is doubling the army supply of Clem. Clem, he outlasted the Roach phase very well. He did a fantastic job of holding. He only had to pick up his 3rd base for a little bit. Still had 4 bases on the way. Didn't have to cancel that. But in the late game here, it's Reynor did just enough damage that he was able to snowball just well enough that now Clem is really finding himself against the ropes. He has lost his 3rd base. There's a likelihood that he will lose his 5th, as those ghost snipes are going to be fantastic. A lot of Hydras will go on down, but now the Lurkers are joining, and the Lurkers are, of course, what is scary. The Lurkers are what Clem is truly afraid of, but of course, with these scans, with these snipes, actually, Clem is doing such a good job with these ghosts. But you got to remember here, of course, Lurkers do bonus damage to armored units. Planetaries count as armor, so Lurkers can absolutely shred these Planetaries down. And actually, if this base does go down here, that's going to be rather scary for Clem, as he's really only going to be mining off of 1 base. And there we go. Now we have Reynor going on in, taking that 9 o'clock base. Will be able to start taking money away from Clem's side of the map. And that's where things get a little bit scary. Because in a split map scenario, as this game is kind of looking like it will be, that being said, is Clem's pretty far behind on the worker count. Or, excuse me, just on the supply count in general. If this game does go fully split map, if you can take a base from your opponent, you fully mine that base out, you are effectively gaining 2 bases on your opponent. Or because you gain 1 and they lose 1. But even if you only mine 50%, that's plus 1 base. So that's all very nice. There is now Clem getting his siege on up once again. Yeah, he doesn't have nearly as much on his play as his opponent, but it's a very technical army. It's a decently expensive army. He's not that far behind in army value. In fact, if we add those 2 up together, he's just about even. All of these ghosts, with all of these tanks, with all of these liberators coming on in as well. But this is just Reynor's time to break things. He says, you know, I don't care how expensive your army is. I got a lot of Zerglings, and I got a lot of Lurkers, and I got Hydras, and I got everything I want. So Zerglings are going to get on top of things here, and while the Ghosts are just surviving, Ghosts do such a good job against Zerglings. Bonus damage to light, they're tanky boys. And they can eventually go invisible. That's not true right now. But the big deal is, even as the army supplies have equalized just a little bit here, Reynor is going to find himself on top of this base, but the repair is going to be good. The snipes from the high ground are going to be good. Clem will be able to fight this back, even as he does lose more SCVs. Clem, over the course of this game, has lost 63 SCVs, which is insane, by the way. That is a metric ton of workers. But once again, Clem pushing here on the right-hand side. He understands that he needs to knock down at least one of Reynor's bases. Because right now, with Reynor being up 3 bases on, or where's that? Yeah, 3 bases on Clem at this point, this is not a sustainable option. I don't care how powerful mules are, especially considering orbitals did go down. I don't care how well you're trading. If your opponent is plus 3 bases on you, it's not really working out. So now the Liberator Harass is doing really good work here. A lot of, actually a decent amount of workers will go on down. Zergling counterattack will be dealt with as well, as it is only +1 on these Zerglings, not +2, not +3. Although I believe they do have, yes they do. So these are Cracklings, they do have adrenal glands. But if I'm Clem, the thing I'm really scared about is this push on in the right-hand side once again. I don't think the repair is going to be good enough this time. There are not enough snipes, and the Lurkers are just going to keep fire. Well, actually, no, never mind. The repair will be good enough once again, but we need a scan, and that's the big deal. So now with the scan being here, we're going to see a decent amount of snipes. The Lurkers will be forced back, but yet again, Clem's supply is dropping. He's not mining nearly as much as he needs to be. If we look at comparative mining here, Reynor's quadrupling him from an mineral income perspective, doubling him from a gas perspective, and actually Reynor can do some more gas with how many Lurkers he is building. But I guess he's pretty much mining gas from everywhere, so it's just a matter of not a lot of gas left on the map at this point. Anyway, Zerglings going to get a fantastic surround on a bunch of unsupported bio, and Clem is going to be very sad to find out that, my opponent is fully mining from one of my bases. Fantastic. That's not going to feel good for him whatsoever. And now, well, Reynor, Clem is left with the devil's bargain here. Does he go and push this base off from Reynor? Does he go knock this down? Which he will be able to do if Reynor's not even defending. But if he does that, he is going to lose a whole hell of a lot here. A bunch of Lurkers will sit behind the middle line on the bottom side. Meanwhile, Lurkers, Zerglings, Vipers, everything else are going to break this base once again. So we go to Lurkers on the bottom side. We don't have a scan for that, so these Lurkers are just doing such a good job eviscerating the mineral line. And GG, Reynor's going to tie up the series. Spawning in the bottom right in the blue, he is, of course, representing Team Clash. Absolutely doing fantastically in that clash in game number 2. He is Reynor. And his opponent in the upper left in the red, representing Team Liquid, Little Corporal, he's Clem. And actually, Reynor winning that map too is even more significant than we gave it credit for from just, he equalizes the series. Because of the maps that actually get, well, actually at this point, Submarine's not there anymore, so yeah, just by default. Oxide is probably the worst map for Zergs against Terrans in quite a few map pools. When Reynor was interviewed as part of the end of Katowice, or one of the interviews in Katowice, he was pretty much told, or he was like, yeah, Oxide is a terrible map, screw that map, we don't like it. So, well, that's that. So again, Reynor winning that map against Clem of all people. I mean, Clem probably has the best TVZ in the world, and I'm not just saying that, because of course his regular ladder practice partners are none other than the 2 best Zergs in the world. So, yeah. Is Maru fantastic? Does he have absolutely incredible TVZ? Sure, 100%. I don't disagree. But considering the games that we've seen Clem show us against Reynor, against Cyril, against against Korean Zergs as well, I don't think I'm being too crazy in saying that, well, yeah, Clem does have the best TVZ in the world now. Is his TVP, his TVT? No, he doesn't. But TVZ certainly has that one pegged. And Reynor being able to knock out Oxide. Reynor being able to take out Clem on Oxide gives him a rather nice advantage, because none of the other maps are quite as Terran favored as Oxide is. So if Reynor takes the map that he is supposed to lose in this series, well, that's just looking pretty good for him here as Reynor. He's not going to do anything too crazy here in this game number 3, at least not yet. It's going to be a 30-odd supply third base, so the standard timing. We're not going to see a 56, going to see a quicker layer. It's not going to be some sort of road shenanigans, no. Reynor just going on into things to see, well, some will get a circling, okay. Not as nice as getting the drone he got in the previous game, but the fact that he's able to get something, kill off something pretty much every game is really nice there for him, as a lot of Terrans don't do that or aren't even able to do that. But Clem is just damn fast. Clem is just incredibly fast. So now, of course, we have the 1-1-1 coming on up, and the Hellion production, all that fun stuff. Reaper Hellion, you know what I'm talking about. You've seen enough TVZs. So really the question is, where do we go from here? Are we going to see a return of the Raven tech that we saw in game number 1? Are we going to see... are we going to see Hellion Banshee? We're just going to see straight up Hellions into quick third base, into just kind of your standard grade push, or not, I guess we don't really do grade push as much anymore. Into just your standard Terran player. We're going to see mech. Clem notably has played mech on this map. Okay, it's going to be Hellbat timing. That works. Clem notably has played mech on this map, by the way, against Reynor, I believe. And I want to say it was WCS. It was his first televised TVZ on this map. And he goes and plays mech. Because this map is very good for mech, by the way. But, I mean, he's Clem. He plays Bio. So I actually have not seen him play mech outside of that one game. I want to say it was against Reynor, too, and he did win. But, whatever Zerg he played, he did win. But anyway, we got the Hellbat timing here, of course, coming on in. It's going to be a Marine Hellbat timing. So this is something that TY has been doing. It is powerful. I saw it bop Rogue a couple times, actually. And it looks like we're going to see Banshees come on in behind here, as looks like that Starport does want to go on in, land on top of that tech lab. But anyway, now we're going to see the Hellbats morphing on in, and look at this, Marines are going to get dropped on top of the Queens, and they're going to body block him, so one Queen's going to go down immediately. The utter assassination, of course, this one Zergling is just doing too much. 3 STVs should not have died from that. What a fantastic assassination there from Clem as he gets on top of the Queens with the body block of the Marines. A really cool move, but now the Queen's in the full-on concave. Well, actually, those are going to be some juicy shots, but I don't think Clem gets too much more than this, especially because the medevac went down. And, well, when the medevac... Oh, Reynor, you got to be careful. Don't send those back too early. But when the medevacs do go down like that, this doesn't have any legs anymore. I wouldn't be unhappy to see Clem go on in and morph those back into Hellions and just kind of run him home. But getting a Queen, getting a couple workers, getting a bunch of Zerglings, that's all nice moves. That being said, though, losing 3 SCVs kind of nullifies every single bit of damage that Clem was just able to achieve. Because with something as kind of semi-committal as this, you don't want to take any damage at home. Right? That makes sense. If you get 3 workers, you don't want to lose 3 workers on the other side. Because certainly, those 3 workers matter to the Zerg a lot less than 3 workers matter to you, just based off of scale. 3 out of 45 is a whole lot less than 3 out of 60, percentage-wise. So now we have a Hellion Banshee coming on in, and once again, Zerglings are going to find their way on in. Man, Reynor and Sarah both are so damn good at getting Zerglings on in everywhere, getting scouts in, making sure they know exactly what's happening. And when that's the case, well... Ooh, this Banshee's starting to get a little bit done. But, yeah, when that's the case, when, you pretty much know what the Terran player is doing the entire time. It's a whole lot harder for the Terran to win. In fact, there was movement on the different StarCraft communities for a while to remove all of the different high ground overlord spots that existed around the bases, so all Zergs could not get nearly as nice of a scout. Now, I would argue that a Zerg played its best has to be reactive, otherwise you kind of fall behind because of how you have to trade. But there certainly was an argument for that. Now, the Hellions are going to dive on in here, but, oh, man, Raider's become so good at this lately. Just with the Evo block. He says, okay, well, you're trying to dive on in. I'm going to be fast enough. I'm going to get blocked off with Evo, and you're going to get nothing done here whatsoever. And the Banshee sharking around on the right-hand side, but that does leave him maybe an opening for the left-hand side. No, but the Zerglings here, Clem will be forced back, and he's trying so hard to make something happen. He is trying so damn hard to win this game, or to get damage in this game. As, I mean, you have Cloak, right, Clem? You do. Well, I would like to see you use it. There was no detection there. Maybe you could have gotten the base. But now the Hellions are going to dive on in once again. This time, though, there is detection. They will be forced back. And Clemmy's just trying so hard. He hasn't gotten a lot of creep either. This is not like game number 1, where sure, maybe he didn't get a lot of drones, but he killed some queens, he got a lot of creep. Yeah. No. Reynor is doing such a better job of doing this. He is on his 9 queen shenanigans. Once again, 6 queens on the creep spread duty, and then of course 1 queen per hatchery to make sure that he has as much production as he needs to spend all that money that he's making. He's banking a little bit right now, but notice he does plan on going for Mutiling Bane style in this game. So he will be able to spend a decent amount of that rather quickly, and he's already getting on into a macro hatch. Very useful, especially when all your queens are active on the map this early on, to make sure that you have as much production as you need to continuously build Zerglings, Banelings, Mutas, all that fun stuff. But now we have the push here from Clem, and it's not an insignificant one. He's up 20 army supply. He will have 1-1 for the push. He will not have combat shields just yet. But look at that. He's also going to take a sieged up position on the high ground here. So it's going to be so difficult for these Zerglings, these Banelings to actually get anything done here, as these tanks are just raining hellfire from above. I know I said that before, but this time I meant it because he's actually up from above here. A lot of these Banelings will go on down. Still though, that is a lot of Banelings on the map here for Reynor. And yes, they don't have Baneling speed until right now, but still. 16 Banelings will be more than enough to ward Clem off. And what is Clem doing? Well, he's going for an 8 racks here in this game. And actually, this is pretty cool. So we're going to see a full-on surround coming on in here. We'll talk about that in a second, as Clem will absolutely get beat back. Tanks are taking some good shots. Clem trying to target fire the Banelings before he does go down. But Clem was, of course, the player that did originate this. Although that's interesting. I can say he's one of the players that originated this, where you don't get add-ons on your 3 additional barracks. You just get as much production as early as possible and really lean on into the Terran player, or into the Zerg player, I should say. But no, Clem is getting add-ons on top of all these, and it does provide an additional nice line of defense. So you can go on in and, well, put your Marines or a tank or something behind those, and it messes with the AI of any sort of front line. A nice little SimCity there. As now Clem, he's going to get aggressive on the left-hand side, which conveniently for Reynor is where his creep is strongest. So first goal here from Clem, knock down the creep. Make it so it's actually a pushable position, because as of right now, it's going to take Clem so long to make this push happen that Reynor will be in fantastic to wipe it on up. As we notice, he's playing, well, there are 2 ways, right, you can play against pushes like this. There's one that says, yes, I'm just going to sweep you from the face of the earth. It's just going to be one big fight, and I'm either going to win or I'm going to lose. Oh, the Mutas are going to find a mineral line. There are no missile turrets here, as this is really the reveal of the Mutas at this point, so we're going to have to see how much damage they get done. They're really not ever going to be more powerful than they are at this moment, at least in knocking down mineral lines in bulk. So yeah, we have missile turrets on the way right now, but now the Mutas are here first, so probably 10, 12, maybe 15 where SCVs will go on down. Yes, it's going to be at 10 for the moment. And now the missile turrets are on up, and this is giving Clem license to maybe attack on the far side. The creep has started to recede finally. And, well, he also knows that Reynor is spending a decent amount of his APM microing these Mutas, make sure they don't die, and Clem's got to find a couple! Oh, that is so big. What is that? 3 Mutas went down? Yeah, 3 Mutas did go down. And, well, that's not cheap. That is, I don't even want to do the math, 24 Banelings worth of gas going on in there, something like that. No, 300 is, I'm sorry, that's 6 Banelings. Anyway. Decent amount here. So now we're going to have, well, Reynor, he's going to maybe, so we were talking about this earlier, right, where Reynor maybe go, so there are 2 ways you fight against this, right? You either sweep it from the map in one big thing, or you kind of split off chunks. You say, okay, chunk, fight, and you just hope to take good enough trades. Reynor, I thought he was going to go for the big sweeping from the earth move there, but no, this is just a massive run by. And yet we have Liberator sieged on up here, but the Banelings will prevent, well, everything's running on in. And the Banelings, are they going to be able to get, are they going to be able to contact with these Marines? Eventually, but these are really good. So, not really going to be nearly as cost effective as it would like. Only 5 works to go down for a lot of Reynor's army. That was expensive there for Reynor. Make no mistake about it. Only knocking down 5 SCVs. Really not worthwhile. For Clem continuing to increase his stranglehold on this portion of the map. But you got to remember, Reynor, he has expanded into the upper right. He has taken the 6 o'clock position for his own as well. As, oh, these transfusions are so good. Like, that was a thing of beauty right there. But now we're going to have the Zerglings spilling on in. Muta's taking the fight as well. This is the sweeping from the earth style of things. But notice those last tank shots are going to be so damn good. We have very few Banelings on the map right now, only 13. And 13 is really good when the Clem is just barely starting his push now. When the Clem has 2-2, it's not quite as good. When he has Marauders, when he has Banshees firing from above, tanks behind, 13 Banelings are not enough to sweep this army from the front. As now Clem moving on forward here, doing a fantastic job to make sure this creep does not keep advancing as now he's within firing range of this fourth base here of REYNOR. What can REYNOR do to defend it? The mutas, it looks like there's going to be a rather large muta Zergling force on the right-hand side getting set up, maybe first round, maybe for run by. We're going to have to keep an eye on that. But as of right now, Clem has been able to penetrate this fourth base location. He will be able to knock that down rather quickly. And that gives him license to access this fifth base as well. Now, the mutas will find a couple of liberators. That's going to be rather nice and get some damage done as well, because, of course, the missile turret died earlier on when that was actually one of the benefits of that run by. And actually, there was no missile turret ever built. Maybe I thought there was. So mutas are getting some rather good damage. As if they can camp the production, they're going to be very happy about that. But, of course, Clem just lost, or REYNOR just lost 2 bases. And 8 SCVs for 2 bases? Yeah, no. Clem is still going to be feeling pretty happy right now, but a lot of his army is overstaffed. A lot of his army is rather weak, and the mutas are continuing to find value. That is, of course, one of the benefits of mutas, with how quickly they regen their HP. You can find potentially limitless value with them over the course of the game. I guess until, like, ghosts go out and just kind of all get sniped down. There's not a lot of kind of play that outside of killing the ghosts, I guess. But now the mutas here, they will find this missile turret. They're just not enough of it here. It's only +1, but Clem is going to pull on back, as now we have the army on the left-hand side. This is just going to be a fantastic trade here for REYNOR. Clem not paying attention. He was paying attention to the repair at home. A repair, by the way, that was not totally successful. Now, it killed a couple of mutas, but the missile turret did go down. So Clem hurting a little bit at home, hurting a little bit abroad, and he has lost a lot of SCVs. 19 SCVs have died over the course of this muta harass. He's only on 4 bases. The mutas, they're just continuing to get more here. Now, a couple of them are starting to go down, but now we have the big push coming out of here from REYNOR. Yes, South Creep, and that is suboptimal. But so many tanks will go on down. That being said, they're warm where that came from. It's only 3, though. And actually only 1 of them is seasoned up here. So if there's a timing here for REYNOR, this is it, as, the tank will get saved at the very last second. This flank coming on in does mean the rest of the army will get taken on down. And GG, REYNOR taking a masterclass in the late game, doing such a good job of finding those connections where Clem is distracted. So this map is pretty cool. Right as we talk about things. So I mentioned the gold base. The gold base is rather far from the pushing positions, but as a lot of map designers have started to do at this point, the gold base is the minerals are accessible from both sides, so that does make it a little bit more challenging to take. It makes it harder for the Zerg in particular to take, because they don't have a lot of, most often they're not going to have a lot of range units that can shoot over that mineral patch, so it makes it a little bit vulnerable to harass there. But also, when we talk about the middle of the map here, we have a bunch of destructible rocks. So this portion of the map is very difficult to push on into, as, well, you can kind of siege up tanks. There's some slow zones. It's not a true choke through that middle, through like right here, because of course you can go through the slow zones, but if you're trying to stream Zerglings and Banelings through, for example, they're going to be that much slower and maybe a couple more tank shots. But there are destructible rocks here and on the bottom side, so it really opens up as the game goes late, as these rocks do get taken down and players have the opportunity to really make this map get a little bit bigger. There are destructible rocks here as well, and we do, from what I've seen in other matchups, we do see those get taken down rather quickly. Of course, this kind of middle area, it's not a high ground, but it's a secluded area of the map is accessible, but you have to go through slow zones, so it makes it a little bit hard. And certainly if there's a sieged up position or something on the far side of this slow zone, I mean, you're not getting through there. Of course, you have everything else, but honestly, I haven't seen any games go long enough to really take the corner bases and have them being actually a subject of contention. Now, also pretty cool is this is a big main base. So in other matchups, I've seen, say, Protoss players that Blink have used that to a significant extent as, well, you can go Secret Agent Stalkers and put a bunch of Stalkers out of the Terran Vision before they learn to build supply depots there. But now this Reaper is taking advantage, absolutely, of the extra Reaper cliff in a rather weird spot. You don't expect to see Reapers kind of come in from the back of your base, so it makes it a little bit more difficult to position Zerglings to position queens until you have the creep fully spread. Of course, yeah, the Reaper, it gets its requisite 1 kill. A Zergling does go down. I don't see it getting much more than that. And Clem actually, or REYNOR actually with fantastic vision on the map. Of course, that's what you do with Overlords in the early game, but bears in mind that in this map in particular, it's really nice because it's a lot harder to spot to predict where the Reaper's going to go. It's not like it's a 1 axis point, or maybe 2 axis points close together, like we see in a lot of modern maps. So, they're natural on the way here for Clem. It's not quite done yet. Is that an additional barracks? Yes, it is. We have a 2-on-1 coming on up here from Clem as he's maybe getting a little bit anachronistic. Third base as well. So this is the TY build. All right, this is a build that he first started showing start of 2020, I want to say, where you get a quick third base, but you also get a second barracks behind there, and you hit it 5 minutes. You don't hit that 4:30 2-on-1 timing that is the Beyond build that he won a GSO, that he won a world championship on, pretty much that and a bunch of Reapers. But you hit it 5, you hit 5:15. It's still powerful, it's still scary, and you have that third base behind it. So it's pretty cool. We're gonna have to see whether Reynor is prepared for this, whether he just get bopped aside. Even at the highest levels of play, sometimes a player could do something that you don't expect, and well, then it doesn't work out all that well for you. Well, look at this though. So I'm taking a rather roundabout route with these first 2 Hellions in with this Reaper, and that means he's going to get a Creep Tumor for free, a couple of them actually, so that's going to be nice. And also, see these Creep Tumors here does tell him something about how Reynor wants to play this game. As that's, well, he gives him an idea about the expand pathing, but he knew that one anyways. There's not a world where, I mean, Reynor's not going to want to take the base in the triangular third of this map in particular. It's not going to be good, right? That is so close to the Terran. And you never want to expand towards the Terran if you can help it, unless you're doing some sort of like roach timing or something, at which point, well, it's kind of worthwhile. But now our 2 medevacs are just about done here at 5 minutes. We will have those last couple Marines required to make it a full 16 Marine drop. 15 right now. But there we go. We will have that couple extra. Stim is done. Combat shields are on the way, but that's not exactly relevant here. And now the drop's coming on in. 15 Marines in the medevac, so it's 1 short, but not really all that significant. And of course, behind this, Clem, he is taking his third base. Because one of the things that this allows you to do, I would say that, but a Zergling run-by is running on in, and there's no wall. The wall's not done yet. So this is actually rather problematic. As okay, so I guess we had something happen. Not sure. Anyway, 5 SCVs will go on down immediately, and this run-by was so well timed here for Reynor, as this 2-on-1 timing that Reynor wanted to go for, or that Clem wanted to go for, well, it was forced to defend instead of attack, and maybe that's a silver lining there for Clem, as he had enough to defend, more than enough to defend, but he still lost 5 SCVs, and he lost out on that timing. That gave the Reynor a little bit more time to get some creep spread going on in. And look at this, Reynor once again, he's going for the run-by, but this time that's a lot of bailing. So I don't know whether this is for a flank or whether this is just to eviscerate a mineral line. Not really sure, but Reynor is really committing hard to this. So he won't have a ton. Well, actually, no, he doesn't have any. No, this is an all-in. I'm sorry. This is only 3 bases here for Reynor. Reynor's going for a bailing bust on this map, as he will be able to find his way on in here. But I mean, the bio of Clem is already on into the natural, and the tank siege on up here. This run-by is not going to get enough. There's a tank siege up on the main base as well, and we have Ling Bailey's. They're going to get on top of this tank, sure, but that is a choked-up tank indeed. So this seems like it's better for Clem. It really does. Yeah, no, they're absolutely better for Clem, as I kind of lost a couple Marines on the map. The splits are damn good here. Clem in the Nazarene knocked off a bunch of Queens as well. The base is going to go down. 1-1 is on the way, of course. Reynor didn't even get Evos. He went all in with this Ling Bane bust, hoping to catch Clem off guard from a weird attack path. And, well, that is not going to be the case here. Now, Clem's going to micro stim forward to make sure that he doesn't take any damage from the Broodlings. But the natural of Reynor is dead. Reynor has lost so many workers at this point. That's it. GG Clem. Here we are, spawning in the upper left. In the blue for the last time. Give it up for Reynor. And his opponent in the bottom right, in the red, for Team Liquid, the Little Corporal, he is Clem. So game number 5. Clem won a short game in game number 1. He lost the long game, game 2. He lost in game number 3, realistically, when his Hellbat timing didn't work. And from there, well, actually, that's not even why he lost. Realistically, he lost it really because he was not paying attention to a lot of his Marines, and we saw his entire army just die when he was focus on dealing with some mutas, and REYNOR doing a really good job of taking advantage of that lack of attention, really. The fact that Clem his eyes can only be in two places at once, no matter how much you wish it no matter how much it makes it look like it's otherwise. And well, then we saw what happened in that last game. So here we are, game number 5. And, well, it's going to be Reaper Opener, Reaper Expand from Clem. You really rarely see anything other than that. But I'm wondering, does he do some sort of aggressive timing? The 2-1-1 worked out for him, but I don't think it worked out for him for the reasons that it normally would work out. I think it was more of a, well, his opponent all-inned him, and it was 2 ships passing in the night, and Clem's army was just always going to do a bit more damage when the majority of REYNOR's army was abroad. And, of course, Clem's rally was going to do a little bit better job of holding because he does have walls. And tanks. So, with that being the case, unfortunately for REYNOR, didn't really work on out. And that really begs the question, right? So, Clem won on one aggressive opener, an aggressive play, and it worked out really well for him. As he was just able to shove in and shove in and shove in with the Raven, with the Hellions, and just deny a lot from REYNOR. But his other aggressive options, really, he didn't win because of them. Or his other win that he won with an aggressive option, it wasn't because the game was aggressive, or the build was aggressive. It was because REYNOR was out of position, and REYNOR went for a build that was kind of countered by what Clem did go for. Now, again, we have Reaper pressure, and it's 36 supply. We're starting to get to the point where, like, maybe this is an intentional lack of a third from REYNOR instead of just a result of this Reaper. And it looks like that is the case the longer this goes on. Although REYNOR is heavily supply blocked, my goodness. So, maybe not, as, well, he's sitting here on 36 out of 36 for quite a while. And this was unforced, by the way. It's not like he lost an Overlord. Yeah, it's not like he lost an Overlord and was forced into that, no. So, we're going up to 42 supply. More and more drones are on the way, so this is absolutely going to be some sort of roach tech, I believe, coming in from REYNOR. If game 2 is anything to go by, we have a lair on the way pretty quickly here. This could be 2 base Muta. This could be a Nidus all-in, actually. But that's not something you see a lot in TVZs. Now that Reaper will find the natural, and actually it will find its way on into the main base here. Will it be able to... you kind of... No, okay, so Clem won't find it. I feel like you kind of suicide in for that one. But Clem placing some focus on making sure that he does have that Reaper alive for the not Hellion pressure later on, as this is a 2-1-1 here in the non-traditional sense. Once again, this is the TY build. So I think Clem's saying, hey, look, you know, if it ain't broke, why fix it? And against, well, okay, so Bailey Nest on the way. This is 2 base Muta, and against 2 base Muta. 2 base Muta against a 2-1-1 is really bad for the 2 base Muta player. Because, well, that attack is, or it's 2-1-1 is kind of hitting with stim and not necessarily upgrades, but with stim and 2 medevacs right around the time you want to get those Mutas out. And Mutas, they don't fight 16 stim Marines all that well. In fact, the reason that 2 base Muta was in the meta, started coming back into the meta mid last year, early last year, was because every Terran player was going for the 250 third base, going for that 3CC build that players like Innovation love so much. So I'm not saying this is a game is over here for REYNOR, not by any stretch of the imagination. If anyone can make this work, it is REYNOR. But if we look at just how the build orders match up on a pure, oh, this is cool. Okay, so this is actually a little bit more committed from Clem than I thought, which is, of course, better for Clem, as, well, the Mutas won't be out yet. So we're going to see a 2-1-1 Hellbat timing coming on in here for Clem, as he's going to get up to probably 6 Hellions. There we go. So 6 Hellbats will be the name of the game here. But look at this. REYNOR taking advantage of having that quick lair. Will be able to get his creep out really, really early because, of course, of Overlord's pooping some creep. But now we have the Hellions, the Hellbats. They're going to be moving on in. Do we have any Banelings? 4 are morphing. Okay. Oh, you're going to need more than that, REYNOR. Probably 6 to 8 at the very least. But yeah, there we go. Now a couple more warping in as he sees the Hellbats on in there. But this is 16 Marines, I believe, in this clump. They have stim. They will not have combat shields. But we're going to have to see whether they can get the requisite damage here, as we have, of course, no Baneling speed. It has not even been started yet. We're not going to see mutas for this hold, of course, because you need everything you can. As now Clem's going to do a fantastic job of targeting these Banelings down, but he's on creep, so he has to run back a little bit here. The Hellbats have been left for dead, and Reynor's going to get the surround, but that fantastic grenade will keep some of them alive. But at the end of the day, Reynor has the hold, and now the mutas are on the way. Now Reynor can get into the tech that he wants to get into. Now he can drop those evos, can drop the Baneling speed, and put himself more solidly into a mid-game tech. There we go, Baneling speed on the way. We should start to see some drones coming on up after this, because Clem does not have enough to push on in anymore. Now, 1-1 is on the way here for Clem. He does have a third base. He is up on workers for the time being, so all is not lost for the Frenchman. But he wanted to get more done with this. But the Banelings, the control over there forced Clem to micro back, not to leave his Hellbats high and dry. And with that being the case, well, Clem was forced back, and now actually, is he going to lose this medevac? No, he should. He's going to be able to get off of. He's going to get off of dead airspace in time. But now the mutas are here, and we do have missile turrets on the way. They will, looks like they will complete in time for this muta harass to come on in here. And of course, well, Clem will have that upgrade lead anyways. It just maybe won't be quite as big as one would normally expect. And these mutas actually, for everything that happened, they're only going to get 2 SCVs to start. Now, we saw how good Reynor was in the previous game with the mutas. So I'm not gonna be surprised to see him get more. To see these mutas very effective. But for right now, again, maybe not getting as much as he would have liked, as much as he would prefer. But of course, the big benefit of these mutas at this point is he will lose one, which you don't want to do. I mean, mutas are your primary map control, your primary everything tool at this point in the game. Oh, you will be able to delay that fourth base for a time being too. Oh no, that's a factory anyway. The big deal here with these mutas is it gives Reynor time to spread his creep. Gives him time to take a fourth base. Gives him time to drone up, and he's only at 65 workers. So it's not where he wants to be quite yet, but he does have 9 more workers on the way, and Baneling is on the way as well to make sure that he does stay alive. And this upgrade lead that Clem has is not going to be nearly as large as it would sometimes be. As well, 1-1's about halfway done, as +1 is complete. I mean, I've seen 2-base muta games where, well, +1's not even done. Okay, those little mines will not connect quite as well as he would like. Where 1-1's not even started by the time 1-1 is done. So now the mutas are going to kick off some reinforcements here, and they will do a fairly good job with that. There's not a lot of anti-air here, but of course with the widow mines, they will be forced on back. But yeah, so they will be able to knock down a couple more here. Now, without detection, they got to be a little bit careful. There we go. One widow mine shot will go off immediately. But what they've done here is they have forced a good portion of Clem's pushback, and this gives them, this gives Reynor a fantastic opportunity to take this fight, to swallow this up, and they're really good, fantastic splits on those Zerglings. We'll make sure the Banelings don't, or the widow mines don't get the attacks or the damage they're looking for. But now Reynor's off creep, and Clem, he has the stim, he has the split, so Reynor will be forced on back here. Clem nursing about a 30 army supply lead. Of course, Lingbane muta is perhaps the most supply efficient composition in the game when it is on creep. So don't let that 30 supply lead really scare you too much if you are a Reynor fan. And look at this, Reynor does have his upgrades coming on in for 2-2 faster than Clem. So if Reynor can survive this, and that is a big ask by the way, is now it's a 40 army supply lead. If Reynor can survive this, he's absolutely going to be in a fantastic spot, but he does not have any Baneling. He has 7 Banelings morphing on in, but Clem can just stim on top of that, and his Clem broken Reynor at this point. It looks like at the very least, Reynor will lose this base, and if he loses this base, he loses the base in the 9 o'clock position as well, and we're just short on Banelings. 18 Banelings are morphing on in, of course. Banelings, they're not here yet, so now Clem should be able to knock that base down. Clem, you got to kill that base. Clem, you got to kill that base. Clem, you got to kill that base. No, Reynor's going to force him back. And the entire army's going to go down. How in the... That's a big blunder there from Clem. I mean, stick like 5 units of your bio on there and kill that base off. It's so close. But that does give Reynor a new lease on life. Now, it's a 30 supply deficit instead of a 50. And it's on creep, and the overall supplies are lower. So, the supply leads arguably are not quite as important as a higher percentage of the supply of Clem is in his medevacs, which they don't do damage, right? Now Clem's going to stim on in, once again, try to knock this base down, but no, there are widow mines here, or excuse me, there are Banelings here. A nice place there for Reynor. We'll be able to keep everything alive. Now, the one thing I'm scared of Reynor at this point is his creep is not very good. He's only, he's on 78 workers, so it's not as bad as it was, but his creep is not very advanced. That means that Clem can kind of set up here really easily right on the edge of the creep, which also happens to be right on the edge of the third base. Fantastic split there for Clem. Once again, he's found this time where there are no Banelings on the map, so now 7 more Banelings morphing on him, but 7 Banelings may not be enough to make this happen, as Reynor's going to come spilling on forward, but the Widow Mines are going to be damn good, and now Clem, it looks like he's really found his true advantage here in this game. Do we have any Banelings on the map? We don't. It's 8 Mutas, 3 Queens, and a couple Gurglings, and a Prayer. It's not going to be enough. GG Clem in 5 fantastic games. We'll take the series. We'll take the tournament.